I don't even know what else to say other than
that should have been our thumbnail. Boy.
It should have been. The Arizona Coyotes fall to the Chicago Blackhawks 7-4 and therefore lose the season series to, and I don't think this is an understatement, the lowly Chicago Blackhawks.
Nope.
Oy! Thanks so much for tuning in to the PHNX Coyotes Postgame Show. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah here with Petey, Craig, and Danielle. Who wants to start? Petey.
That's disappointing.
I knew you were going to say not me, so.
It's disappointing. You saw this team lose to the Chicago Blackhawks a week ago at Mullet Arena. You think, okay, well, they're going to Chicago. They come off a Detroit win where they played 60 solid minutes to get a home win before they go out on this road trip. It was really disappointing. I don't know if there was one bright spot. I guess they had some offense early and they jump out to a 2-goal lead, but they didn't defend. Well, again, we'll get into more of that as it goes on. It's an incredibly disappointing loss. But does it matter?
Nope.
And I hate to say it that way, but
it might matter in the way that you're not the way you're thinking.
Yeah, you got 17 games to go. You're 3 points ahead of Columbus and Ottawa now that are now catchable, as it were.
Yep.
And is that more important for the long-term health of this franchise? Probably is. Because right now you see where this team is slotting in, and it's not in a good place. So they better get some draft picks because this team isn't good enough. They're not good enough. I don't see where the very near future is going for this team, and this kind of set up that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And that's a reality that I think the fan base, with all that y'all have been through already, probably need to start coming to grips with. It's not going to be a short rebuild. They're not coming out of it next season. Yep. They're not coming out of it the year after that.
Yep.
This is what Bill said when he was on our show long ago. Rebuilds take a long time. It's not 3-4 years unless you get a number 1 overall pick like the team they've been playing tonight. If you get a number 1 or number 2 pick, you get a franchise player. That can speed up the timeline. So far, Coyotes haven't gotten that guy. This feels like a long rebuild, and boy, what a thing to lead off with. Tell people, hey, get ready for 3-4 more years of this.
Yeah.
But that's what it feels like.
Wait, and you see what the difference. Bedard gets 3 points tonight. Clearly, he was head and shoulders today. We talked about the Cooley Bedard, and I saw someone he's so much better than Cooley. I don't know if I'm going to go so much better. I think we haven't seen what Cooley's going to become yet.
Yep.
And I thought, and I know this is not where we're going with the game, but when we talked about Cooley early in the year, Cooley's playing third line minutes. Was not on either the first or the second power play, and Cooley or Bedard was thrust into that role day one.
Yep.
First line minutes, first power play, every offensive draw. Cooley didn't get those minutes.
Doesn't matter what you do either, right?
Yeah.
For Connor Bedard, doesn't matter what happens.
If you lose 10-1, guess what? Your first line
if you make mistakes, you're still going to be out there.
Yeah. So I don't know if they've had the same opportunities this year. Connor Bedard's a really, really good hockey player.
Yep.
I mean, we'll talk about the Calder as this goes on, but I don't want to say he has definitely been better than Cooley this season. I'm not saying he's not, but I don't know if he's head and shoulders. But when you see what a difference one player can make in a roster, because when we look through the rest of that Chicago Blackhawks roster, it's really thin.
Yeah.
Like they just don't have much in the back end. They don't have much in the way of offense. Connor Bedard carries the team, and that one pick makes a huge difference. And you just hope Bill Armstrong over the next 3 drafts gets that one pick, whether it's a first overall pick or the presumptive number 1 falls somehow in their laps.
You just find a guy that, that sometimes happens, a guy that comes later in the draft, like Mikko Rantanen is at number 10.
Or even Cale Makar at number 4.
Yeah, by both of them Colorado Avalanche players, interestingly enough. But yeah, you need to, if you're not going to pick 1 or 2 overall, you need to find a guy. And they do come along. It's just they come along so much more often at 1 or 2 if you just look at the sheer data.
Yeah, but here's what's frustrating me, and I'm going to go back to today's game, is that this is the Chicago Blackhawks in Chicago down 2-0.
Yeah.
You're coming off a big win against the Detroit Red Wings. I know you went through the trade
Chicago
deadline.
played last night and got mathematically eliminated from
Last
the
night.
playoffs last night.
Yeah, so there's a team that should be frustrated and down and pouting, and the Coyotes are coming off a home win, and you have a 2-goal lead. You've got to find a way to win these hockey games.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say it again. And I know I keep harping on this one point and kicking the dead horse, but their defending has got to get better. If they defend like this and they continue to leave the front of the net to be protected by Schmaltz and Keller, and again,
Just
no
forwards,
knock.
period, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
forwards. I want to say that because I was going to actually point out one of the goals, and I'm going to do it.
Oh, were we getting the whiteboard? Let's go. Petey's Puck Talk live. happening
Because
now.
I'm really frustrated. This is the second goal of the game. This is when the game turned. It was a 2-1 lead, and in the defensive zone, I know that ends up being a penalty that creates the bench minor that creates the game ultimate game winning goal, which stinks too. But I want to show something, and here's my frustration. This is the Chicago forward is an X right there. Okay, defenseman. They got a guy here and a guy in front of the net, right? And I'll get it closer so everybody can see it. This is Victor Soderstrom. This is Clayton Keller. And I don't know if you can see this. You can't, but that's okay. I won't even get closer. I'll use my fingers and you'll get the point.
We can tweet a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll tweet the picture. As the Chicago Blackhawk player goes up the ice this way, Victor Soderstrom is on his back, meaning he's going to climb with him, stay with him man on man, climbs up to the blue line like this.
because
They're
that's
together.
the system. That's the Coyote system.
Man
Yeah.
on man. They're staying with him. He's pursuing the puck and he's chasing him. Clayton Keller's down here, right down here in the corner. There's a Chicago Blackhawk player right next to him, and it is Blackwell right next to him. Right next to him. And Blackwell goes to the front of the net. Where does Clayton Keller go? He just drifts. He drifts. He follows up behind Victor Soderstrom. He just drifts. He just drifts. So where does Clayton Keller end up? Clayton Keller ends up over here on the dot. Here's Clayton Keller on the dot. Where does Blackwell end up? Right here in front of the net where Clayton Keller should be. So if you're going to play man on man, and you're going to play man on man where your defenseman climbs all the way to the blue line, that means your forward has to go back and protect the front of the net. Has to. That's his job. Has to do it. If you're going to play this system, has to do it. But if your forwards can't do that, if your forwards are Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, and offensive players like Logan Cooley and Matthias Michelli that want to get up in the ice, then your defenseman has to stop climbing in the zone, and he's got to fold back underneath to protect the front of the net. This team gives up so many goals in this area of the ice in front of the net with a forward defending in front of the net. They either have to change the system or they have to beat this system into the heads of these offensive forwards to get back to the front of the net. Because this game changed on that goal because they didn't protect the front of the net, and Clayton Keller drifts into the middle of nowhere. This team has to defend better in this area of the ice. They cannot climb along with forwards into the zone. And that's my Petey's Puck Talk live. This team's got to defend better, period.
Can you do me a favor? Take that marker and just drop it like this.
Like a mic drop situation.
Perfectly
It's
said.
so frustrating.
It is. It is.
I also do just want to say something that we pointed out on the trade deadline show. $6.5 million. It's a $6.5 million defense.
Yeah.
Okay, great point, Leah. They're outmanned on the back end. They are. They're outmanned on the back end. You've got young players that are learning in the back end. It is. You know what? You know what you do? I've said this when Team Poland would play Team Canada in international play. It's called Polish defending. You stand around the front of the net. You defend the front of the net. We have no chance against this team. We're going to defend. So if you're this team that can't pay for a $30 million defensive core, and you have a $6 million defensive core, you defend the front of the net. Guess what, you guys? You're just going to stay here. You're just going to stay. We don't have the skaters that we want to have. We don't have the defensemen that can play this system effectively. So we're not going to play this system. We're going to protect the front of the net and take our chances and try to win 2-1.
I just don't get the system. I know
don't
some
either.
teams have run it successfully. Like Tampa has done this, right?
Yes.
But-
Colorado does this. Carolina does
But
this.
who are the people who are trained to defend the front of the net? What have they been doing their entire
Defensemen.
life? Yes. Anyway, we should move on because we're running out of time here.
We're going to keep it
But you're
snappy
right.
today.
But you're right. If you're going to play this system, then you got to teach your forwards how to defend the front of the net better. And that every one of those teams that I mentioned that defends like this has a $20+ million defensive payroll, and they have forwards that defend. and it has become ingrained into their system, and that's how we play. The Carolina Hurricanes defend. Like, they defend hard. Their forwards defend hard. They're not cheating for those offensive opportunities. They protect the front of the net first. Vegas Golden Knights, go watch them play. I challenge somebody to watch the Vegas Golden Knights and see where their defensemen are during the game for the Vegas Golden Knights. One of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup, their defensemen are in front of their net. Very, very, very rarely do you see a Vegas Golden Knight defenseman up at the blue line. It happens, but very rare. They defend first. You look for offense second. And that's how you lose 7-4 to the worst team in hockey.
Oh, good vibes to start this one off. Let's take a look at the numbers. Let's keep the vibes bad. Let's take a look at the numbers presented by Desert Financial Credit Union. Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes. Shots on goal, 42 for the Blackhawks to the Coyotes 36. Coyotes 0 for 2 on the power play. Chicago 2 for 5, which somehow is an improvement over for the Coyotes, at least the 4 for 5 the other night. Shot attempts, the Blackhawks had 76 and the Coyotes had 59. Once again, penalties bite the Coyotes. And for some reason, against the Blackhawks, and granted, they have Bedard. That's great. But this is one, we said this last week when they played Chicago. This is not Toronto. This is not Tampa. This is not even Washington. This is the Blackhawks.
It's a really, really bad team that you just blew a 2-0 lead to.
Yep. It's a bad team that beat you.
Yep.
And I know there's empty net goal.
Twice in a week.
Yeah. Twice in less than a week. And that
they lost the season series.
Yep, 2-1.
To the team that is going to pick first, second, or third.
First, let's be honest. First. Okay. About those ads.
Yeah, let's move on. We'll keep the good. Well, the vibes will be good at our takeover coming up on Sunday, March 24th. That's 2 weeks from today. We still have tickets available to our pregame party at Four Peaks at the 8th Street Pub at 3 p.m. It's going to be a blast. You can buy tickets just for the pregame party. Those tickets include food and drink, and you can also buy game tickets as well. That includes the pregame party and the takeover. But whichever way you decide to go, we hope to see everybody there in 2 weeks at the pregame party at Four Peaks 8th Street Pub. It's going to be a lot of fun. And as we know, we need a little bit of beer to watch this team lately. So
might have a lot of beer that day.
Join us at Four Peaks, and then Craig can tell you about all the perks of banking with Desert Financial Credit Union. Of course, Craig is part of their, what is it, the Platinum Club?
It's the Platinum Club, yes.
And so is Vagoda. He's making his way, and there's so many reasons to...
He's going to tour the vault soon.
I mean, there you go. Desert Financial Credit Union, they've been around for more than 84 years. They help out with checkings and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. And right now, when you open a free checking account online, get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200.
And then make sure you play the Arizona Lottery. Arizona Lottery has a new game, and it's called Arizona Adventure. And there's 3 ways to win. Buy the Arizona Adventure Lottery tickets featuring 3 iconic landscapes. Then you can check in at geolocated adventures at 10 different destinations across the state, from Flagstaff all the way to Yuma, and several right here in the Phoenix metro area. Or you can enter those tickets online for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes. It's easy to do. Just jump on azadventure.com for details and directions to log in, and then check in at those destinations once you've logged in to your site. It's so easy. We all did it when we went to Hole in the Rock at Papago Park. The Arizona Lottery is not just about playing games and winning prizes. It is also about giving back to the state and its communities. Visit azadventure.com for more information on how you can take an adventure for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes. And I'm going to jump right into, I know people are saying, Chicago's bad. I love the city of Chicago.
Yeah, people are, first of all, Craig is from Chicago, so anyone coming in here to crap on Chicago, you've come to the wrong place, because we are big fans of the city.
Love Chicago.
Yeah.
And also to the Blackhawks fan in the chat, fans, because there are a few of you, welcome. I'm happy to have you as long as you're polite and
nice.
The
truth is, we've been where they are at the bottom of the stands. We understand the struggle for a team that's won the Stanley Cup before, and the expectations are so high.
Yeah, we don't know that part of it.
No, we do not know that part, and I hope someday we can speak of that. But it's difficult to go from that to this. I get it. This roster is bad, and I think anybody in Chicago, hell, their GM and coach will admit this is a bad roster. They're trying to be bad. And they did it the right way by getting the #1 pick. And if they do it again this year, good grief, you can almost ship the Stanley Cup there now, not next year or the year after, but it's coming back again if you can get Celebrini and Bedard on the same team. So I'm not diminishing what they've done. I'm saying the roster they intentionally put together to lose just beat the Coyotes team twice in a week.
Yep.
And I'm not disparaging the Blackhawks. Good on them. They had players playing their role. Like Nick Foligno's going to the net and doing good things. Soderblom was unbelievable tonight. And I guess the Coyotes did have opportunities at the net. Soderblom, that's one of the best games I've seen him play all season.
Right.
Like he was that good. And the Coyotes weren't able to score in some of those situations. So I'm not a guy that I just try to call it like it is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like anybody who's going to argue that the Blackhawks are a god-awful team is like not living in reality.
Right.
Their goal differential was -95 coming into this game.
Yeah.
Come on. It's a terrible team. They're trying to be a terrible team. But that's the point. The Coyotes just lost to this god-awful team that really wants to pick at the top of the draft. So, yikes.
Yep.
Yikes is right. We have a super chat. I didn't forget about it. Let's take a look. This one comes from Roaring Fork for Craig. Have you ever asked Bear about his timeout philosophy? I think after the second Chicago goal, one could have been appropriate.
I have not asked him. That's an interesting question.
It is because
I'd like to.
It's funny that comes up too because you rarely see a timeout in hockey anymore. And there was a period when you lost your timeout for the challenge.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, and that was when the challenge first came in, so the early 20 teens in that area. And I think coaches saved their timeouts because of the challenge, and they didn't want to lose their challenge because once you lose your timeout, you use your timeout, you no longer have a challenge. So I think that was the thinking then, but that rule has since changed. Yeah. I'm surprised coaches don't use it more often.
I know, just to stem the tide, right? To try and slow momentum. And I don't know where I sit on this. This would be an interesting debate, actually, whether NHL teams should have more timeouts than they do. I don't want this to become the NBA. The NBA has far too many timeouts. It's a joke. It is a slow-moving game. In the most critical points of the NBA game, it's like watching paint dry because, another timeout, another timeout. It's just like, enough. They have way too many timeouts in basketball. Let the players figure it out. Stop putting everything in the coach's hands. Yeah. But I wonder if a couple more would be the way to go in the NHL.
One per period, maybe?
Yeah.
And then you could give the coaches an opportunity, or maybe in the first two periods it's a 30-second or a shorter one, just Sure. I don't know. There's something to that because I don't know if there's enough strategy. I think it's partly because the players go to the bench so often and you can teach and learn during those moments that you can help as a coaching. But I think you're right. I think there needs to be the philosophy of, hey, you rarely see it. And I'm not saying this to Bear Andre Tournier. I'm saying this across the league.
Agreed.
You rarely see a timeout. Yeah. Unless you've given up 3 in 5 minutes, then you might see it. I've seen it once in the last month. And it's just so rare. So I don't know.
It's an interesting question. Good
really
question,
is,
Roaring Fork. We will revisit that. Let's talk about a few, I guess, of the positives from this game because there were a couple. The first half of the game, at least, was going.
Was one less game in the season? Is that where you were going?
Yeah.
Okay, no, sorry.
We do have a dog in him.
We do.
And he kind of made himself known from the start. It's Clayton Keller because he scored 2 goals, and they were both really great goals. One was a nice shot from up top, and then another one, a little breakaway action. But because this is what he does, Petey is going to be a little negative about Clayton Keller.
Okay, so Clayton Keller's top forward on this team, leads his team in point scoring, right? We all agree on that?
Yes.
He gets 2 goals tonight. That's really good, right? Like, we're happy with the 2 goals. He ends up the night -1. And Nick Schmaltz, 3 points. He ends up the night -1. So if you can't trust your best players that you need to provide the offense, if you can't trust them to be on the ice because they give up so many opportunities in the defensive zone, that's a problem.
Yep.
They have to be at least an even game from the blue line, and you cannot be a defensive liability every time you're on the ice. And tonight, that line was a liability. And it's one of the reasons I believe that they broke up Keller and Schmaltz. And they put Keller with Guenther and Cooley. I thought you saw more jump in their step. You can't get 3 points tonight and end up -1.
I agree.
That line's got to defend better. Stop worrying about scoring all the time when the puck's in your end. Stop cheating. Stop jumping over the blue line first. Stop drifting when you should be defending. Defend first, offense later.
Yep. Petey, you are spitting truths tonight.
You really are.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It's just frustrating to watch it over and over again.
It's fine.
And as a coaching staff, you have to wonder, like, you need your best players to be your best players.
Yep.
And you need your best players to be the best players all over the ice.
Yeah.
And again, I go back to the teams that win and are the really good teams. Watch those star players defend. Like, they have to take the defensive zone seriously. And here's to the Chicago fans that are listening.
There are a lot of them in the chat right now.
One of the concerns you have with a Connor Bedard and a team that is this bad defensively and is a -95, like Craig said, one of the fears you have is there is no accountability for defending, and there is no accountability for how you play in your own zone. And I've liked Connor Bedard's defensive game. I think he's quick on his feet and he can read a play. I do worry about a team that has taken the onus off of winning and losing, and what that can do for bad habits down the future. And that's a concern when you have so many young players that night after night after night are losing. And I know not to the Coyotes, but traditionally losing. And you're losing so much.
Yep.
You know, you look at the Edmonton Oilers model. When they had all those top draft picks, they lost every night, and losing became okay. It wasn't a problem. You couldn't yell at them every night because they stunk. But those high draft picks just learned how to lose every single night. And you worry about that with a player like Connor Bedard, that losing becomes acceptable. And you hope that doesn't creep into your game, because Keller and Schmaltz have to be better defensively. Have to be.
Yep. And I even saw earlier one of the Chicago fans in the chat say, like, hope this is kind of the last year of the tank, because you need to kind of change the culture.
But they need a
around.
lot of pieces.
Yeah,
the
I know.
Blackhawks need a lot of pieces still.
The Blackhawks?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Seth Jones is finally putting some points. He's got 4 points tonight, but he only has 1 goal in the season. He was the guy that they thought would shore up the defense in the back end there. That just hasn't happened. I think, Foligno re-signs is great, because, but he's not a guy that's going to lead you through the rebuild. He's a guy to protect Connor Bedard in the current state of where this team is now. They've got a ways to go. I mean, Kevin Korchinski's he's a 19-year-old defenseman. He's not ready. I mean, again, he's ready for the NHL. He's playing, but he's not ready for prime time. I mean, he's not making the plays like you look for, like a Cale Makar or those kind of players.
Right.
This team's got a ways to go. I still don't think their goaltending is good enough. They're got a ways to go through the rebuild, which again leads you back to the Coyotes.
Yep.
And where are the Coyotes in their rebuild? They're behind Ottawa, Buffalo, Detroit. They're behind all of those teams in the rebuild,
And none of those teams are in the playoffs, including the Detroit Red Wings, who, after watching them come through here and watching what's been going on there, that's not a playoff team. Detroit's not going to hang on. They're not going to be in the playoffs in the East.
Doug said Petey looks mad like Torts last night, and that's not the first time today Petey has been compared to John Tortorella.
I get that. I get that his younger brother a lot. I actually got that one time I was somewhere and somebody thought I was him. Like, it literally came up to me. And
That's funny.
it was funny. I used to have my hair a little longer like he did back in the day. So.
You should have just gone with it.
I'm a huge fan. of John Tortorella. He's a truth bomb dropper himself.
Yes, he is.
He is.
Yes. And an unbelievably warm guy when you get to know him one-on-one.
Phenomenal.
Anyway.
We've talked a lot about the Blackhawks' future, but just sticking on the theme of the Coyotes' future, Dylan Guenther continues to be amazing. He has 6 points in his last 5 games. That play was a great setup by, Korchinski. Thanks for the assist on that one. But Cooley set up the play really well. And again, like we talked about in the last game, this Guenther-Cooley combo continues to impress. So I know the tone of today's show has been very negative. And we kind of started off by saying buckle up, because it's not going to be easy for a few years, but there are little bright moments to take away. And I'm trying to be the voice of positivity
those are the guys
on the set tonight. And I want to point that out.
I thought both of those guys look good. I thought on the Guenther goal, I know the puck bounces around a little bit, but it's a really good play at the blue line on the entry by Logan Cooley. Like, a really good, protects the puck really well, spins, makes a great pass to the middle of the ice. I've really liked what I've seen from those two playing together. I think they've got some kind of chemistry, and they enjoy it, and they've got this. They're just fun to watch. They've got a pace to their game. I think that's a pair that they'll keep together. I would be surprised to see this, stay together for the remainder of this season, and starting off next season, you put 92 and 11 together, and they're fun to watch. So there are some good young pieces to this Coyote team, and we talked about what's going down in Tucson, and we talked about the draft picks. I'm starting to worry about some of the veteran players, though. And where are they going to be when this process finally is over?
Absolutely.
And because we're not sure when the rebuild is over, but by then we say, "Oh, Keller's young; he's 25, 26."
Well, you look at how the fan base reacted just to the first half of this season.
Yeah,
excited. Oh my God, the playoffs! Could this be speeding up? It was a false alarm. You look at this roster. No, it's nowhere near. It's nowhere close.
Yeah,
and that's the hard truth.
Right.
That Bill has been trying to deliver. But it falls on deaf ears, because almost nobody has the patience for that, especially a Coyotes fan base that's been waiting for how long? I mean, oh, really? Now we got to wait how many more years?
Yeah.
Like, are we ever going to have sunlight on this franchise? But if you do it right, Bill's not guilty of the sins of his predecessors, right? Whether it was ownership demanding that they speed up the rebuild, or GMs making mistakes. He's not guilty for any of their sins. He's trying to do it the right way. Unfortunately, the right way takes time, and it's going to take far longer than I think people realize or want to accept.
And it's painful.
Yes.
And I think when you look at the two times I can think of in recent memory where this team was trying to get to a rebuild, 2014-15, the pressure became so high to change it so quickly because you go through ownership changes. And when you go through ownership changes, different owners have different philosophies. Well, you're halfway through a rebuild, and now you're bringing in free agents. Derek Stepan's coming in. And you go, wait a minute, we're just trading our future away for a guy. Wait, we're rebuilding. And so I think that one got stunted. And then I think with John Chaika, I don't think there was patience there for a rebuild either. I think there was more, let's try to win now. And then you see Taylor Hall. And I think,
go back earlier. There's another one too that we can talk about, but we don't want to get into this today.
But this is the one they're sticking with. And I have to say this, for as negative I've been tonight, I do believe in the future, and I do believe in the plan. I can see what's happening in the future. This American League team is good, and they have good, talented players. The draft picks that they have over the next 3 to 5 years are phenomenal.
Yeah,
like phenomenal. And so some of the teams that are great right now don't have those assets right now. They don't. Yep. We talked about that in the show the other day at the trade deadline. Coyotes are going to catch them. The problem is we're sports fans.
Yep.
And you want your team to win. You don't really care that a rebuild's going to get you there 3 years. You don't care. Right. You want to win now.
Nobody wants to hear, hey, wait for 2027, 28. Yeah.
And so it's still going to be painful. And then you got to see where the core is at that time.
Yep.
And Ethan said Chicago will be a big AZ rivalry. I lost the comment. When both of these teams are in their compete stage, Coolio and Bedard at age 25, I'll be fascinated with these two rosters.
It's fair. In the Central Division?
Assuming that the NHL hasn't moved the Coyotes to the Metro by then.
I mean, they're continuing to move. So, hey, but we're fine with it because more games in the East Coast. And we'll talk more about the time zones later.
That's true, yeah.
But in the meantime, let's take a look at the upcoming schedule for the Coyotes. It's on to Minnesota Tuesday and Detroit Thursday for once continuing the repeat of last week. And then it's home to New Jersey on Saturday. Finally, a few days off. It feels like it's been pedal to the metal here, 4 games a week, pretty much. On to Dallas and then Seattle at home. So there'll be some downtime next week, hopefully, because, man, what a push. But that's what's on the horizon. And I will say it is funny how we can go from really good vibes on Friday's show to today.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens the rest of the week. At this point, if they win, lose every other game, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, Detroit's lost 5 in a row, including the game to the Coyotes. They're a team that's giving up a lot of goals right now.
They're terrible 5-on-5. Sorry, if you look at them 5-on-5, they're not good.
Their goaltending and their defending 5-on-5 has been so poor. I mean, in the last 3 games alone, 16 goals in 3 games, over 5 goals a game. The Coyotes actually might have a chance there. Yeah. And I wouldn't have said that. I didn't say that a week ago. Minnesota, they still, I don't know who their math guy is.
Their game tonight?
Yes.
Have you ever seen that? The Wild pulled their goalie in overtime. It was 3-3. Oh, in overtime, they pulled the goalie and scored. Yep. What?
Needed the point.
What?
Needed the point. Can't lose the point.
Wild.
Crazy.
Wild. And no pun intended.
And they scored 5 seconds after they pulled the
wild card.
Yeah, they believe they're chasing the wild card still. I think they've got too many teams to jump over, but who knows? I'm sitting here. They're actually in it. So
yeah, I mean they're just looking at Vegas now, but are they really going to catch the Vegas Golden Knights? I know Vegas hasn't been playing well, but they got a 6-point deficit to Vegas. I just don't see it.
You never know.
But anyway, go ahead.
Do you think when people come in here and troll Coyotes fans about moving out of Arizona that they realize that they're actually helping boost our video by commenting on it?
I don't know, but thank you.
Thanks so much for the engagement.
Thank you for patronage. Appreciate
BetMGM, if you want to bet on the Coyotes or against them, or bet on player props like Petey had a bunch of going. You won some of your bets tonight.
I got Nick Schmaltz anytime score.
Nick Schmaltz
Thanks,
anytime.
Nick, after I beat you down a little bit. Thanks for the win.
We thought it was going to be Keller, so you were really excited at first. You forgot it wasn't Keller, it was Schmaltz, but he came through for you. Plenty of ways to win money over at BetMGM. Of course, the NBA is going on. Baseball season is right around the corner. We got college basketball. March Madness is coming up. It's prime time for sports right now, and I have a BetMGM parlay pick courtesy of our friend Sean DePaz, who is hopefully well rested after their 24-hour show. And the theme of this parlay pick is all the favorites tomorrow, because why not, is what he wrote. So this is what we got. We have the Los Angeles Kings money line, the Winnipeg Jets money line, the New York Rangers money line, and the Boston Bruins money line, all parlayed together for for odds of plus 459. So if you want to tail Sean to pause, you can do so over at BetMGM. Sign up for BetMGM. Use the bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the BetMGM Sportsbook mobile application for at least $5, and you'll receive $150 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Damon talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-UP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117. For confidential help, Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Mississippi, New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
At Gila River Resorts and Casinos, no one does it better. Their state-of-the-art gaming floor with slot machines, blackjack tables, and live table games, as well as Arizona's largest casino sportsbook. The dining ranges from upscale to approachable. Make sure you check out their rooftop restaurant, Prime A, Shula's Steakhouse at the Path, Wild Horse Path. I'm sorry, it's approaching midnight.
You're looking to me for an assist.
I know, it's approaching midnight. And what I always talk about is their entertainment choices at the showroom at Wild Horse Pass, where every seat is no more than 75 feet from the stage. Very intimate. Make sure you go check out all the people. Martina McBride's coming. Ice Cube's coming during the Final Four. Can't wait to see.
There's a lot going on at Gila River during the Final Four.
Make sure you go.
Is
I thought you were going to say more. No, I got a disclaimer to read. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos.
Like
visit playathgila.com for more details. That's playathgila.com for more details. Yeah, I am kind of like the top line today. Came in with some really good comments, and then I'm faltering in the ad zone.
It's all good. All right. All right, let's not talk about this game anymore.
No.
Craig, I'm throwing it over to you. Let's change the subject.
Okay, what do we want to talk about? Do you want to talk about daylight saving?
Let's talk about daylight saving.
Because I like daylight saving. I like Pacific time. Pacific time is the best time.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's so many perks to being in Pacific time.
You get off earlier, first of all. Like there's only one game, by the way, that starts after 7 o'clock the rest of the season for the Coyotes. There's a 7:30 game in Vancouver. That's it. We don't have any of those 8 or 8:30 starts anymore because we're on Pacific time. And when they go back east, we really get home at night. It's nice. I love it. I think Pacific time is fantastic. I think daylight saving is stupid. I have no idea why we still have it. It's pointless. Like there's people out there, like it used to be for like agriculture. Now people are like, well, it's safer for people to drive home when it's light out for that 1 hour.
All my friends who live on the West Coast
so dumb.
All my friends are depressed because the sun sets at 4 p.m. for months.
Yeah.
Like, at least here in Arizona, I like that Arizona doesn't conform. Hawaii doesn't conform. There's like a small part of, I think, of Indiana that doesn't conform.
I think they changed that.
Oh.
I think that's gone now. So, yeah.
Well, Arizona and Hawaii.
Yeah, Arizona, other than the res. But yeah, we don't bother. We don't bother with daylight saving, and why should we? Because it's antiquated, it's stupid. So, but I do like the fact that we're back on Pacific time. So, hooray for Pacific time. That's a good thing about today. Not this game, but daylight saving.
And the other good thing about today, with it being Pacific time, and the Oscars started very early.
Right.
So, if you've ever seen pictures of our studios, we have 3 TVs. So one of the benefits of watching tonight's game is we also had the Oscars on.
Do you guys watch the Oscars? Peter, you said you hadn't watched them in like 10 years.
I don't watch them.
I usually do.
I'll go to Twitter to see who won, and that's it.
Yeah, I normally do.
I like some of the pageantry about it. I really do, actually. I tend to watch it.
I love just seeing the fashion, too.
Yeah.
That's a huge part
Some of the
it,
speeches get a little long. We're just like, okay. But
that's why you watch it on mute.
Yeah, or you go back.
Forward.
There's occasionally a really good speech. Like Robert Downey Jr. was hilarious right before he went on. But yeah, I like the Oscars, and I have this habit of after the awards are over, I make sure I go back and watch all the films that were nominated. I haven't gotten to them yet. There's a lot now. It used to be like 5 that were nominated.
Now
it's like it's way too many.
I haven't seen any.
But I will go watch all of them. I like that. It's kind of a family tradition, including we'll go back and watch the shorts too and the animes.
That's
we do
fun
a lot
that
of stuff
you guys do
as
that.
a family. It's good. Yeah. So that's another positive out of today.
Let's talk about pizza next.
Before I do that,
pizza. Go ahead.
Koch being sent down. Someone actually from Slovakia said, "Oh, why'd they send Koch down? Well, because everybody's healthy and they don't need an extra defenseman now, and they need him back down."
Well, not everybody's not healthy.
Well, no.
Yeah.
They've got 6 defensemen. They went 7-11 with Soderstrom here. They want to Koch back down.
Yeah, they went with like the bare minimum on this road trip, by the way, which is crazy.
Yep. So
anyway,
he'll be down there helping the American League team win.
Yep.
Well, This is the pizza road trip, I guess you can say. Unless they were in New York, then it would really be the pizza road trip because
Yeah.
Chicago, Detroit.
Yeah.
There's
the famous
all the
Minnesota,
arguments about the different.
famous
Minnesota pizza.
Well,
they
we
don't
know
have
Petey's
days.
Pizza
I mean,
opinions.
Detroit, it's Little Caesars. It's let's be honest, Little Caesars is not great pizza. Although it's really weird.
At the arena, it's good.
At the arena, they
It's
have
really
a cut
good.
of Little
It's-
Caesars
it's
that's
really
better
good.
than
It's
any
best
that
Little
I've ever
Caesars
had. Little Caesars Arena also has the longest buffet you've ever seen in your life. It's like 100 yards long. And
It
right
is.
at the end is that upper grade of Little Caesars pizza. That's incredible.
They also have
But-
mozzarella cheese sticks and chicken wings.
Yes.
Just throw that in.
But we're not going to talk about Detroit pizza because
It's
it's
Chicago.
Little Caesars. It's Chicago, and I think most people when they think of Chicago, like, oh, it's that pizza casserole, it's that deep dish. Right? That's not what Chicagoans eat. That's not even what Chicagoans are talking about when they're talking about Chicago pizza. So we're going to educate you a little bit by bringing in a couple guests. Who we rolling out first here?
Well,
Go
first,
ahead.
if you listen to our audio only episode at the
Mhm.
beginning of last week, Mark Lazarus of The Athletic, he covers the Blackhawks and lives in Chicago, of course. You guys had a whole discussion about pizza.
We did.
And this was also educational for me because I think I've been to Chicago. It's been a long time, but I think I'm part of the people in that boat. When you think of Chicago, you think of
Deep
deep
dish.
dish. So this was very educational for me. So I think first things first, let's listen to Mark
hear from Laz.
Lazarus describe what he's really talking about with Chicago pizza.
Deep dish pizza is not when people say we're going to get pizza in Chicago, they're not getting deep dish. They're getting tavern
Right.
style.
Yeah. So do
Which
you
is
have a
very
favorite
thin,
there?
it's very thin crust.
Yes, it's fantastic. Do you have a favorite tavern style?
I do. It's right around the corner from my house. It's called
Wow.
it's better than anything I've had in the city. It's called Rico's, and it's got this spicy sauce kind of to it. And it's like true Chicago thin crust pizza, like, real thin. They will not cut it pie cut for you, no matter how many times you ask. It'll always be party cut. With those horrible, annoying pieces without crust. I don't understand the way Chicago cuts pizza, frankly, where you have to pick up all those pieces that have no crust, or you just burn your thumb every time.
You don't like the fillets? I call them
Is that what they're called?
fillets. That's what I call them. Yes. The ones that annoy me are the little corner pieces where it's basically you might get a shred of sauce and cheese on it. But it's
I
mostly-
love the corner pieces, man.
Okay.
I'm the guy who calls up a Chicago pizza place when I order it. I say pie cut, please. I want my damn triangles. I'm a New Yorker by heart. I grew up in New York, so this I want my pizza's got to be triangle. I got to be able to fold it in one hand, and that's how I want to eat my pizza.
So there you have Laz dropping some knowledge, but we wanted to get a little more from our own family.
Because Laz also has a New York perspective.
He
on
does.
that
He
as
does
well.
have a New York perspective. Greg Boyson does not. And
No.
Greg was kind enough to record a video at the last minute. I literally would ask him this afternoon
Yes.
or late morning if you could talk to us a little bit more, educate people about
Appreciate
what
him.
tavern style pizza is and his go-to spot and his go-to pizza. So
He came with more than one, by the way.
Greg this is a spectacular video, by the way. Thank you, Greg, very much for dropping this in.
Of
let's-
CHGO, for those who don't know.
Greg Boyson, Jay Zawoski, and Mario Terabasi, our CHGO team covering the Blackhawks. They're probably live right now.
They are.
Hopefully they're not throwing too much shade at the Coyotes and us right now. But this was a great video from Greg, so let's roll it.
Hey, it's Greg from CHGO Blackhawks and our buddy Craig, a fellow Chicagoan, wanted some help in explaining the difference between Chicago-style pizza and the real pizza we eat here in the Windy City. Chicago-style, deep dish, stuffed, pizza casserole, that's for the tourists, all right? Most Chicagoans rarely ever eat that. Usually, it's like somebody's birthday when you have a friend from out of town. You go take them for some Giordano's deep dish pizza. There's only one deep dish in the city that I actually will go out of my way to eat, and that's from Pequod's. Otherwise, it's thin crust tavern style. What do we mean by tavern style? That's when you cut it into little squares. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the end pieces with the crust. You get the middle with all the extra toppings. It's perfection. At the CHG office in the West Loop in Chicago, our go-to place is Salerno's for a great thin crust pie. When I'm at home on the North Shore, it's Lefty's in downtown Wilmette, the best pie in the northern burbs. Bank on that. Some of my other favorites around growing up on the northwest side, Annetti's Pizzeria on Cumberland, Dino's on Higgins. Great pizza. My go-to order, extra cheese, sausage, pepperoni, and black olives, and you have to have it cooked well done so you get a crispier crust.
There you have it.
I gotta say, like he like went above and beyond.
I agree.
Because
Yeah,
you said just give us the difference, and he not only came with one recommendation, he came with 8, and then specific orders, specific neighborhoods. Like, I'm set if I ever go to visit Chicago.
Yeah, that was good
on the
content
pizza
right
tour.
there.
That was fantastic.
And you know what the best part of that content was? We didn't have to create it.
And you know what else the best part is? It wasn't about the game at all.
Yes.
It's true. That was another good part.
There you go. Should we pull up Petey's report card again?
No. Let's look at the punch card, though. That'll depress us a little bit. Just okay. We've seen the punch card.
There it is.
There it is.
That's Petey's report card.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh.
There it is.
The problem is when you lose to the Chicago Blackhawks, that means they're the worst team in the league. So that means you potentially could lose to everybody else.
Yep.
And you've got
Are the Sharks on the schedule again? I think they are. One more
two
time.
One more
teams
time
coming
in
up on
April.
this trip, the remainder of this road trip, 2 teams that are fighting for their playoff lives. They need every single point. If you come out with an effort like this against the worst team that's playing for nothing, and you play that like that in Minnesota, after the way Minnesota played it tonight against Nashville, there's a concern. And I know that Detroit, having lost to this team 4-0 the other night, Detroit's not coming into this game unprepared. They're just not going to. They're coached too well. It's too good of a team. Craig, they're on the precipice of the playoffs and being knocked out here in the next few days, which is probably fair. But they're still going to be battling for it. I don't know when their next win is again. And we're back to that again, where I don't know where the next Coyotes win is. And I don't know what you do as a coaching staff. I don't know what you get up in the morning and tell these guys again that they haven't heard all season long.
Yeah.
I don't know how you remotivate a group. I don't know.
And someone in the Discord just said, I think we should go back to the goalies going every other game.
Might as well at this point.
Maybe. And it's
I mean,
crazy
you had to
because-
come back to Ingy
Well,
because
yeah,
he had a shutout.
100%.
Right.
And not that any of this was necessarily Connor Ingram's fault.
He wasn't great tonight. I mean,
Yeah, but
yeah.
He didn't have that game like he
Right.
did against Detroit.
Right.
And you know, it's just it's unfortunate because you want some consistency from your goaltenders, especially with this team. Good goalie play is what gives them a chance
Sure.
to win.
Sure.
So
I want to see too. I also want to see. Here's what I want to see. I want to see good goaltending because I think that's imperative for this team to stay close. I want to see Cooley and Guenther continue to have their chemistry. I think that's incredibly important for the future of this franchise. And I also want to see, and I don't know if you notice this or have ever listened to me, I would like to see this team defend better. I think that should be their priority for the rest of this road trip. We're going to defend.
I don't want to get into too much of this now because it's going to be some of the offseason stuff. But with this coaching staff in particular, based on what you just said, how do you motivate this group? How do you, when you go into the offseason coming off this season and know that you're probably going to have a challenged roster again? What is your message as a coaching staff coming into now year 4 of this?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because I've been in that situation where you've gone into a season and every year you got just that little glimpse of optimism. You'll sign a player like last year when they signed Zucker and Dumba. You go, okay, there's a little bit of a glimpse. And they got Kerfoot. And you go, okay, even us in here, we fell victim to it, that we were maybe a little too optimistic because of those signings. It's going to happen again.
Us. Everyone was saying, oh, like the Coyotes could be a playoff bubble team even.
And I think what's going to happen over the summer, because you have to fill those roster spots, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
There's going to be those fringe guys that they sign that they're not going to be the superstars, the top 6 for most teams, but there'll be a guy you go, oh, he's kind of good. This will help. And we're all going to be tricked into it again. And then as a coaching staff, they'll get tricked into it, going, okay, we're a little bit better. We signed a new defenseman. We're going to defend better. And then the reality hits in. And what I'm concerned about with this coaching staff, he's built it on relationships, and everybody comes to the rink happy, and that's so much of what he is.
Yep.
And the personal relationships, after some point, when you continue to lose and lose and lose, it's harder to keep selling the message.
Yeah,
we're
it's
really
harder
good
to have
friends.
belief in your coach, right?
Yeah, we're really good friends, but we suck.
Yeah,
like give us something else. Give us something else to grab onto. And I've seen it with coaches. We saw it with Rick Tocchet here, where people are like, "Well, Rick Tocchet can't coach. Rick Tocchet can't coach." Right? We heard it.
Yep,
we heard it on this show.
Heard about Dave Tippett too.
Rick Tocchet's he's coaching a team right now that's first place or challenging for first overall in the entire league. So maybe it wasn't the coaching, maybe it was the team. And I think at some point, Bear's going to have to look and go, God, I don't have the horses to compete.
Yep.
So what do you say to? And I distinctly remember Dave Tippett in 2015, where the team was so bad so bad. He would come into the locker room so angry, throwing markers and pens and whiteboards, literally that angry, until one day he goes, we're just not good enough.
Yeah.
We're not a good enough hockey team to do that. We're going to change. And that's when it was, just like I talked about the Polish defending, that was it. Like that team turned into, we're just going to be the best defending team. And we took small wins. Dave Tippett never got mad the rest of the season. Not one time. It was just, okay, we're going to lose every game, but we're going to try like hell. We're going to compete and we're going to defend. So with Andre Tourigny, the friendship and the camaraderie and the relationships takes you so far.
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to push the buttons and motivate those guys again, not just tomorrow in Minnesota, but next year.
Yeah. And that's going to be the challenge for him going into the offseason too. You know, he always talks about, you know, his hundreds of pages of notes of things that they want to do better. Well, you got to evaluate that one. That's not as much X's and O's, right? You can't study systems there. You can a little bit. We're talking about this, but there's a bigger question here. At what point could Andre Tourigny risk just not having any faith that they're going to win this way? And it's not his fault. Again, it's not his fault.
No.
You just don't have the players. You don't have the talent. But do you need a new voice down the road at some point simply because, hey, this is year 4. This is year 5. We're still
3
a
more
terrible
years
team.
of this, Craig. That's 6 years of losing.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm always a firm believer in even really good coaches like Mike Sullivan's going through it again right now.
Yeah.
He's just signed an extension, and they're talking about Mike Sullivan in Pittsburgh, and a guy who's won cups.
Right.
And they're talking about
He
it.
can't coach.
Right. So there will be a concern on how long you can listen to the message over and over again. I do hope, though, and I don't know Bear and how he works his system play. I do know that the coaches I've worked for went through a lot of stuff over the summers to find things different. Whether they changed or not is a different story. But they went through the playoffs and studied teams. They assigned each coach different teams. You're studying this team. What do they do well? And then you have to break it down. And we tried things with Rick Tocchet. We would try different systems in training camp.
Yeah.
And we'd try maybe a day or two and go, oh, gosh, that we can't do this. It's not in our DNA. And I think that's where you have to recognize what your team can do.
Well, rebuilds are stressful, and so is replacing the floor in your house. But it is well worth it in the end, because then you have the foundation for the future. How about that?
That was really good. That was a
something
great
that looks
segue.
like this.
That was a great segue.
We have great floors here. By the way, I called my mom this afternoon.
Great
She
segue.
spent the weekend moving furniture. She's getting her floors done this week. And I know replacing floors can be a stressful process, but Empire Today makes it easy, quick, convenient, and they make sure they do it right with excellent speed and service. It's easy to shop. At-home convenience. There's nothing more overwhelming than looking at a bajillion choices of things and trying to narrow it down. Empire Today keeps it simple. So now's the time. If you've been on the fence, schedule a free in-home estimate today. And right now, all listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details.
And there's great news for Craig and I. Madonna is coming to the Footprint Center this summer. If you're from the 80s, you know. And good news for Leah and our former producer, Sean DePaz, because you know what show's coming this summer? Hamilton. And if you want to get into a Hamilton sing-off, make sure you do it with Leah.
Challenge me and Sean and
ridiculous.
Danielle to a Hamilton
Oh, you're a
sing-off.
Hamilton too? Do they have a name for
I don't
them?
know.
Like Swifties for Swifties? Do they have a name?
You should just call them Hamiltonians.
Hamiltonians? I'm fine with that.
Yeah. The three of you should just do a show.
We should.
P and I'll sit it out.
Yeah, I won't go. But guess what? They're coming. It's coming to Gamage this summer. And if you want to get tickets, you know where you got to go? You got to go to Game Time. You got to go to Game Time because it's not just concerts and sports tickets. It's theater tickets too. So make sure you check out Game Time. I didn't know.
I had no idea either. That's awesome.
Hamilton, June, and you can get tickets right on Game Time. Head over to Game Time. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. It's the fastest-growing ticket app in the country for a reason. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I have the Game Time ticket app. I've got an account, and I do that.
I do too.
Easy.
I've used it many times.
There you go.
All right. Well,
take us out, Leah. Whew, take us out.
Wait, I just have to mention one thing that Nick Bukestad got into a fight. We didn't mention that.
That's true.
He had a...
What a week.
What a week.
Goal.
Wife has a baby, scores a goal, 300th career point, gets in a fight.
I don't
It's a
know though.
trifecta.
It's a different kind of hat trick. Yeah,
I know.
He
he's a
looks-
name for that.
Like he's got this just calm, happy demeanor. He's always smiling. Will that smile fade when he has 3 teenage girls? Dad, where's the curling iron? I've got a date. Can I use the car? Like it's just gonna be like teenagers as a whole, but have 3 of them at the same time.
I have a teenage daughter, and she's perfect. So
That's fair enough.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, no, it was good for him, and he's one of those leaders that I was hoping that would help pull this team through this. I'm worried right now, and I guess I'm worried for all the wrong reasons because this season's only got 4 or 5 weeks to go, so it really doesn't matter. It's all starting to gear towards June 26th. June 26th through June 28th.
17 more games
of this.
In Las Vegas. Get ready for the draft. Start talking
the
draft.
Sphere.
We're going to drop more names this week.
Yeah,
Start thinking draft.
Buckle up, everyone.
I think it's pretty cool that Brandon Spatto, paid for the Sphere to advertise PHNX Coyotes. So he doesn't know it yet. But
Can you imagine Craig's melon on the Sphere? I'm in. Let's go.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well,
All right.
thanks everyone so
Oh,
much.
that's a great thing, Harold. I'm going to do that. I will do that. For
Yeah, we're
tomorrow,
gonna
for tomorrow's
do-
show, Harold.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
A
We'll do it.
comparable goals for against power play now versus last. Yes, I will do all that.
We
for
will.
tomorrow.
So tune in tomorrow, 2 p.m., PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. Give us a thumbs up on this video. And thank you. There were some very friendly Chicago Blackhawks fans in the chat, so I appreciate you. I appreciate people, Coyotes fans who watch every day, and whether you're commenting or not, because I know there's a lot of people who watch and don't comment, but I appreciate and see you as well. And we want to see you all as a diehard. We had a great first intermission. Petey's
that
Puck
was
Talk.
fun.
It was a little it's essentially a little live show, except it was in Discord for diehards only. Petey had the whiteboard out.
yeah, Brandon's also buying us a Telestrator soon.
Oh,
so
okay, good.
yeah.
Breaking down some plays. So one of the many perks to becoming a diehard, access to things like that, access to diehard only content, 20% off merch and events, including the pregame takeover. That events diehards have a cheaper price for. So one of the many perks. And just really quickly, so I can say it on the record, on the show, if you're in our Discord and in our YouTube chat, let's just say this blanket. Just please think before you send a message and think.
Be good.
Just be kind, be nice. It costs nothing to be kind, and it can really make someone unhappy with your words. And please consider that, because I want this to be a very, very warm, inviting, happy community. And listen, we're not happy all the time.
Nope.
We lament together. We have healthy debates.
Yep.
All of that is fine, but just disrespect.
No personal attacks.
yeah.
Don't just be a good person.
Yeah.
All right. Just be
Yep.
decent to one another. Don't be rude. Don't make snarky comments about another person. Don't disparage them. Come on. Be better than that. Be better than that. And I think it's pretty clear who we're talking to. I think it's pretty clear. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
Yes.
Be better.
Yep. We're all in this together. #1pack.
Yep.
Like again, we'll debate different players. We'll debate different systems. You can talk about the coach or a player that you like, but not personal attacks either of people in the Discord or even of the players. It's not about personal attack. If you don't like the way someone plays, like I disparaged players today, trust me, but it's about the way they played.
Yeah.
So let's we're all in it together. This isn't the place.
Yeah.
At the Discord?
I mean,
Come
there's no
on.
place for it.
No.
To be honest.
There isn't.
It's
If you need to,
it's immature.
If you
It's
need to go
immature.
outside and yell at a tree,
Yes.
you can do that on
Yeah.
your own time.
Yep.
But that's it for us. Keep the good vibe. Good vibes all into tomorrow for our 2 p.m. show on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. So you make sure you subscribe there, and make sure you subscribe to PHNX Coyotes wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review. You can follow us on Twitter at SPetersHockey, at Leah Merrill, at Craig S. Morgan, at Abracadanielle, and you can follow the show on Twitter at PHNX_Coyotes. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, everyone, and we will see you all tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.